seek them. We're not going to try to recruit them because they're black, in spite of the fact that they're qualified, in spite of the fact that they have a specialization, a skill set that is wildly needed to put this into action. And as I talked about in a previous video, the makeup of the military is just about 50-50 white and then minority groups, Latino, Asian, black, roughly 50-50. I think it was 49.6% black and Latino, black and brown folks, right? Here's the article. The Army and other service branches are abandoning recruiting efforts at a prestigious black engineering event this week, turning down access to a key pool of highly qualified potential applicants amid President Donald Trump's purge of diversity initiatives in the military. Until this week, Army Recruiting Command had a long-standing public partnership with the Black Engineer of the Year Awards, or BEYA, an annual conference that draws students, academics, and professionals in science, technology, engineering, and math, also known as STEM. The event, which takes place in Baltimore, oh no, that's a...
So Trump doesn't want to stand next to female officers, especially black female officers, according to the New York Times. So Pete Hegseth had 4 women, including 2 black women, removed from the promotions list. Not only is this highly unusual, but it may not even be legal. Hegseth had been pressuring Secretary Driscoll to remove these women from the promotions list for months, but he refused to because he said that there was no reason for them to be removed. Hegseth's chief of staff told Driscoll that Trump did not want to stand next to black officers at events. So Hegseth himself just went in and removed them from this list. When he told us that he didn't want women in the military and everyone said, oh, he can't just do that, this is how he does it. He makes it so uncomfortable and so difficult for them to climb the ranks and get promotions that women will start to leave the military. He has created an unsafe environment for women in the military. Not that it wasn't already, but he's made it worse. And now he's making it harder for them to achieve promotions, simply because they're women. And more importantly, black women. Hegseth is deeply afraid of women because he knows that they're smarter and stronger than him.
Well, happy Tuesday, everyone. I have a little announcement I thought I'd share with you. It seems that the Trump administration and Pete Hegseth, Director of Defense Secretary, they have come up with this little catch, 22 catch, to try to weed out African-American male military. Pete Hegseth sent a letter to the higher-ups in the Pentagon and asked them to review their grooming standards. And after that, they came out with this announcement. There's this condition called pseudofolliculitis. I know I butchered it. Pseudofolliculitis. That is the medical term for razor bumps. And they're saying that if you cannot get rid of your razor bumps, Pete Hegseth, if you cannot get rid of your...
Trump the chump doesn't want to recruit black people for the U.S. military anymore. I wonder why. Maybe it's because the contributions made by the beautiful black military soldiers throughout the U.S. history are numerous. Our black military contributions go all the way back to the start of this stolen country's history. So let's start from the beginning. The American Revolution. In 1775, over 5,000 black soldiers served in the Continental Army, fighting for independence from Britain. They were enslaved and fought in exchange for freedom. But after the war, black soldiers, despite their crucial role in securing American independence, were betrayed and denied that promise of freedom. This would continue to happen, by the way. Instead, they were returned to slavery. And then came the Civil War in 1861. The Civil War marked a turning point for black soldiers. Over 180,000 black men served in the Union Army, primarily in the United States Colored Troops, called the USCT. They played crucial roles in major battles and helped tip the balance of power in favor of the Union. The most famous of these units was the 54th Massachusetts Infantry Regiment, who fought bravely in the assault on Fort Wagner. Despite their significant contributions, black soldiers faced extreme racism from both the Confederate and Union forces. After the war, many black veterans were treated as second-class citizens. They struggled to access the benefits and recognition given to white veterans, and racial violence in the South, such as the rise of the Ku Klux Klan, continued to target them. Next up, we have the Spanish-American War in 1898. Around 10,000 black soldiers served in the Spanish-American War. Black people were placed in segregated units, but they still fought valiantly. One of the most notable groups was the 9th and 10th Cavalry, known as the Buffalo Soldiers, who played key roles in Cuba. After the war, black veterans were still treated with disdain and discrimination. Even though they had proven their courage, racism continued to pervade American society. Many veterans returned to segregated communities and were denied the full rights and respect of their white counterparts. Next up was World War I in 1917. About 350,000 black men served in World War I. The 369th Infantry Regiment, known as the Harlem Hellfighters, gained fame for their bravery in battle, winning France's prestigious Croix de Guerre. I'm sorry, that probably was a terrible translation, but it was a very important award. They won this award for their actions on the front lines. Despite their distinguished service, black soldiers faced racism both at home and abroad. In France, they were often treated better than they were in the U.S., but upon returning home, they were met with hostility, violence, and segregation. The post-war period saw the rise of the Red Summer in 1919, marked by race riots in numerous cities. World War II was next in 1941. Over 1 million black Americans served in World War II, both black men and women, in many segregated units. The Tuskegee Airmen, an all-black squadron of pilots, gained national fame for their heroics and impressive combat record. Black soldiers also served in combat roles in Europe and the Pacific. Black soldiers faced harsh discrimination, both in the military and in civilian life. On returning home, many were subjected to the same systemic racism as before the war, including segregation, limited job opportunities, and violence. Despite their contributions to defeating fascism abroad, black Americans continued to fight for civil rights and equality at home. Next up was the Korean War in 1950. The Korean War marked the beginning of the integration within the U.S. military, contributing to the success of the United Nations forces. Although the military was officially desegregated in 1948 by President Truman's Executive Order 9981, racism and discrimination were still pervasive in the ranks. Next up was the Vietnam War, 1955 to 1975. Around 300,000 black soldiers served in Vietnam War. The 369th Infantry Regiment was reactivated, and the black soldiers were heavily involved in combat on the front lines. Many black soldiers also became anti-war activists, speaking out against the war and the treatment of black people in the military. Despite this significant participation, black soldiers faced discrimination within the military. They were often given dangerous, menial jobs. When they returned home, they faced the same racial prejudice as other black veterans. Many veterans were disillusioned by the war and the racial inequality they experienced both on the battlefield and upon their return. Post-Vietnam, the black soldiers continued to serve in all branches of the U.S. military, with many achieving high ranks and distinguished service. Black Americans have played roles in both Gulf Wars, the War on Terror, and the conflicts in Iraq and Afghanistan. Although there has been significant progress in terms of integration and equality in the military, racism persists. Black service members have reported discrimination in assignments, promotions, and leadership opportunities. On returning home, they have often faced similar challenges as those faced by earlier generations of veterans, including systemic racism in employment, housing, and policing. They were frequently denied the same post-war benefits, such as the GI Bill, as their white counterparts. But what's the big deal? I mean, what's the GI Bill anyway? Well, I'm glad that I asked myself that question. The GI Bill provided financial assistance for veterans to attend college, vocational schools, and technical training programs. It covered tuition, books, and other related expenses. This access to education helped many veterans earn degrees and improve their job prospects after returning home. The bill also provided funding for apprenticeship programs and job training. Home loans. Veterans were given the opportunity to obtain low-cost, government-backed loans to purchase homes, farms, or businesses. The goal was to help them secure stable housing and avoid the financial difficulties that many would have faced when transitioning back to civilian life. Unemployment benefits. The GI Bill offered unemployment compensation for veterans who were unable to find work immediately after returning home. This helped veterans support themselves and their families during an often difficult period of readjustment. Healthcare. Veterans were provided with access to medical care through the Veterans Administration, now the Department of Veteran Affairs, which expanded its network of hospitals and clinics to accommodate the needs of returning soldiers. The GI Bill played a major role in post-World War II economic boom. It helped millions of veterans secure higher education and home ownership, which in turn contributed to the growth of the middle class, the white middle class. While the GI Bill was revolutionary in many ways, its benefits were not equally available to all veterans. Black veterans in particular faced significant discrimination when trying to access the GI Bill benefits. Many were denied admission to colleges, faced racial segregation in housing loans, and struggled to get fair treatment from the Veterans Administration. This created a significant gap in opportunity between black and white veterans, particularly in the realms of education and home ownership and employment. So to recap, Black American soldiers have made invaluable contributions to every major U.S. military conflict, often serving with distinction under difficult and segregated conditions. Unfortunately, their treatment upon returning home was often unjust, as they faced the harsh realities of systemic racism, the harsh realities of being black in America. However, their courage and resilience and perseverance have paved the way for future generations of Black Americans to serve with honor and dignity. My grandfather was drafted to the Korean War, and he is the greatest man I've ever known, and I miss him every day of my life, and I always will. And if he had not survived being on the front lines of that war, I would not be here. I'm grateful for the sacrifices he made for me, for our family. I'm grateful to all the black men and women who served this country, not for them, but for me, for us. And with that I say, I love you, black man. I love you, black woman. Knowledge is power. Power to the people.
So y'all heard about the fact that Trump just signed an executive order for women not to be able to vote. That basically married women, but I'm gonna tell you, it's gonna run into more things that's gonna exclude women. So if you take your husband's last name, one second, guys. So if you take your husband's last name, then what happens is that it counts for one vote in the household. So that means he vote, you don't get a vote, right? And if you get married, that means that you shouldn't be able to take if you want to vote, you're not going to be able to take your husband's last name, which probably is going to run into another problem, right? Because I'm sure, that there are some type of stipulations to that. But the problem with that is it's not just stopping women from voting. There's more to those bills. When you write a bill like that, that is inclusive of some other things, right? So it's going to affect the disabled and all sorts of things. It's going to be a trickle effect until you find out that we can't vote at all, right? Because in the last 30 days, like it's been 34 days or so, maybe 36 days the most since he's been in office, and everything has been pushed back to like early 1960s or whatever, right? Everything has been reverted. And so taking women voting rights away, that's just a way to do it, right? But it's going to be sectored out, right? Remember, it's going to be identified where mostly won't be able to vote at all. The other thing that he did, he signed an executive order where he wants black people not to be in the military anymore, be opted into the military. So he signed an order saying that black people cannot be in the military anymore, cannot get in the military. I know that again is going to be another open door to something else that's going to push us back, right? Or try to push us back into slavery, because I'm going to make myself very clear, I'm not going back. We're not going back. There's no way we're going back. And so all of this stuff going on, guys, I know the bill for the women votes has passed the House of, one of the House of Representatives, I think. It has to go forward in normal due processes. But I also know that there's like over 50-some suits going towards Trump to sue for breaking Constitution, for doing criminal activity and things like that, because none of this is legal, right? You cannot just go and start rewriting the Constitution, rewriting bills, and putting things into place, and this is what is happening. Elon Musk got up in the White House. Have you ever seen anybody standing in the Oval like that? Have you ever seen anybody? They did a press conference. He was standing in the White House beside Donald Trump, sitting on it, with his child on the floor, on his shoulders. He was dressed. He was not dressed appropriately, right? And it was almost like, this is my office. Like it was made a mockery, right? You got the president of the United States sitting and somebody standing over him answering questions, because he don't have the answers to whatever he's doing. And when they asked him, the reporter asked him, what safeguards do you have in place to watch you, right? He was like, well, I put it on X. Is this a joke? Like, am I being pranked? You put it on X, like the world is supposed to go to X to see what it is that you're saying about the Dodge committee that you have with 19 to 24-year-olds with all of that going on. And this was supposed to be now that tells you that it's self-serving, because why would the world have to go to your app to see what's going on with your little committee that you put together for the world, controlling our money, our Social Security, our private accounts, our data? It's a breach of contract, first of all, because nobody just comes off the street and should be able to go into your data like that. Nobody elected him, nobody asked for him, nobody called for him, right? But the bottom line is that Elon Musk paid for this election, so he's protecting his property, which is Donald Trump, right? Because he said himself, he owns the software that was used to vote. So allegedly he won, because I don't believe he won. I don't believe he won. I believe that he was just like everything else is in Elon Musk's hand, and he have all these programmers with our data and everything talking about they behind closed door coming up with some type of tax bill, a tax bill that's going to give a break to the wealthy, right? And so if you have a bunch of programmers and my personal data and our personal data, then what are you doing but programming it to make it be what you want to be? Because you're saying you went in there to control waste. Your committee was to control wasteful spending, the abuse of the money for the American people and everything. But all we've done is suffer losses. All we've done is suffer losses, worrying about if our older people, our parents, our grandparents, our aunts, is going to get their Social Security that they worked for years, by the way, which was voluntarily put in, so you don't have a right to take that money. The Medicaid, how do you pay for taxes for years, and then when it comes time for you to get it, you can't get it? How do veterans serve this country, then when it's time to get your money, some of them not even getting their checks? So that's being affected. But the only thing that's not being affected is Elon Musk's protections. I mean, his investments, right? Because while the world is in shock about everything is going on, it was just, he just got a $300 million contract approved. Like, who approved it? Who else approved it? A $300 million contract for another one of his companies. His President Trump's daughter, which normally take forever for to get some patented, I heard has gotten over 90 businesses patented. So as usual, when he was in his first run as president, he ran the debt up for the American people over $100 trillion. And his family walked out richer than they ever have been before. So if you can't see what is going on with this, you can't see that this is self-serving, that this has nothing to do with the American people, what all of this is going on, I don't know what to tell you. I just don't know what to tell you. I don't know what people thought was going to happen. I'm going to be honest with you. I had no clue that this was going to happen, because at this point, it's like they forget the Congress. Everything that the Congress is in place for these safe holes, is out of order. It's like they don't even consider them. And the fact that he would not appear before Congress, Elon Musk, is another problem. It's like they above the law. It's like we don't even exist. Like our voice don't even count. It's one person that is running the free country right now. One person. And if we, being more than them, sit back and act like we can't see that, I don't know what to say. Because I know the phones are being blown up. I know we're calling our representatives. I know people are making noise. I know people are not happy. I know for a fact that there are Republican people and the House of Congress people that are saying, what in the world is going on? Yet it continues to go on. It continues to happen day after day after day. This is quite a ride. This is quite a ride. But yeah, I just came to share that knowledge because maybe it'll go across somebody that actually has some type of influence. Because right now, this is a wild ride. Oh, and I forgot that something is going on where I don't think that it's coming down the line that I hear that black teachers won't be able to teach. So you won't be able to teach black history or our history, but you can teach Columbus and everything else. So you're going to have, black kids in school getting traumatized because we're there.
Thank you for staying tuned, and thank you for watching those amazing clips. As you can see, Donald Trump ordered military to stop recruiting black people and also ordered the removal of black people from the military because some of them refused deployment to Iran of recent. These people were actually saying they cannot be fighting the war does not belong to them, and they cannot be fighting for Israel. That's exactly what happened now. And a lot of them are not getting promotion as well, and the benefits which they are entitled to has been cut off by the Trump administration. And that is why many of these people are raising their voice and letting their voice out, and even some of them are now saying they are willingly and ready to leave the military for good. Drop your thoughts in the comment section and let's have more conversation respectively.